fam? Welcome back to Gainz O'Clock, the #1 weekly Q&A series I'm running on this channel right here. We'll be right here every single Friday. I'm Milton from TeamFFLEX to answer all your questions, alright? So I'm going to do some questions, about 5 questions that basically I get all the time as a coach. And then I'm going to take some fan questions too. So thank you for those of you that jump in here and you bring me the questions, and please make sure you share it. Please make sure you subscribe it, because it's only one, not two, one of the awesome series shows I got going all week, every single week right here. Alright, so please make sure you subscribe, share, if you get anything out of it, and send me your questions, alright? I'll feature you on the show. So, let's just get right to it then. I'm going to start with the 5 questions I kind of brainstormed about and thought about a little bit that I thought would be good based on stuff that people ask me all the time. Because people do ask me all the time a lot of the same questions. So the whole idea behind the show, by the way, is that, you know, hopefully you can get some answers to some questions you might have, and then you can, you know, help spread the word. But basically, here we go. Question number 1. Is it okay if my macros are not spot on? This is a big one. I get this question all the time, and basically people want to know, you know, they're tracking their macros, but they might not hit it down to a T. So is it cool if you're in the ballpark? And I always say from the very beginning, ballpark is what matters. We're not looking for perfection here, okay? When you're tracking your macros, it shouldn't be you're trying to get down to the gram. I mean, if you're doing that, you're also the person who probably counts each fucking grain of rice to the bottom of your damn Tupperware. It's no way to live, basically. What you got to do is be in the ballpark, be in the realm. You know, if you're mixing up your diet and you have good variety like you're supposed to when you're doing flexible dieting, then it's likely that you might be a little bit under some days, a little bit over some days. You know, you're not going to ever be 100% on the gram. And if you are, you're probably doing too much, and it's just not going to be a sustainable approach. So what you want to do is make sure that you're tracking in the ballpark. Be within the realm. You know, a little under, a little over, it's all good. It doesn't matter as long as the consistency, we're consistently in that realm really close to those goals, okay? And so sort of a similar question. Question number 2 is, why do sometimes I track my macros correctly, but the calories don't add up to the macros, right? So this comes up a lot. This is another one. It kind of ropes into question number 1 about macros being spot on. But basically, you know, people are tracking their stuff and they're wondering why they could hit their macros good, but the calories are not right. Or they could hit their calories right, but the macros are not right. And so what happens with all these tracking apps, this is the best way I can put this for you, is they are user-populated apps, okay? So what basically that means is, like, I can make a food and submit it, and it will go to the main database, and you could enter it, and depending on if I put the macros and the calories in correctly, that's going to dictate if it gets tracked correctly, right? So basically, you know, there's the fact of the user variability, meaning like you could be literally putting in a food that was entered incorrectly, and that's going to be kind of the problem. But most of the time, you know, calories are usually right, or macros are going to be right, but one of the others a little bit shifted. And then there's also the stuff to do with food labels, okay? So food labels have the ability to not be 100% accurate. It's actually in the rules, you know, the FDA and all that, where you don't have to be 100% accurate. You can pretend certain, you know, like these calorie-free drinks actually contain calories, but since they have a less amount of calories than is required, they don't actually have to put it on the label. And so what happens a lot of times, too, with some food labels is the labeling is off, okay? You know, things like alcohol. If you think about alcohol, you go get a drink somewhere, you get a beer, it's like 160 calories, but there's no macros. It says 0 protein, 0 carbs, 0 fibers, 0 sugar. It says 0 across the board on most stuff. And you're still getting the calories, but what are the macros? So in reality, it comes kind of back to the first, how do you deal with this? You just got to prepare for the ballpark. You know, you can try to adjust things a little bit. If you're seeing, you know, okay, maybe this is tracked weird, look at other examples of that same food and see if it's actually weird or if it's, you know, if it's the way it is. So that's a good way to do it. Also, just focus on the ballpark. Don't worry too much about it. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you're getting it down. People always ask me which one should you try to hit, calories or macros then. It's always about the macros. I say macros first, okay? So get the macros, get that right, and then you're good. Don't worry too much about what the calories say or any of these tracking inadequacies. Remember, it's about the ballpark. It's not about the perfection. I got hurt. Should I take a rest day or go anyway? So this is for people that have injured themselves doing something. You know, people twist their ankle. People might have slept weird and woke up with a tweaked neck or a back or, you know, something. They did something. They fell. They ran into a fucking, I don't know. They ran into a wall. They did something, right? Basically, for some reason, you've injured yourself. Not related to actually lifting, but just for one reason or another. You know, you stub your toe or something happened. This happens all the time. It's actually crazy how often this happens. But yeah, should you take a rest day or should you go anyway? And so here's what I say, okay? Depending on where you're at, depending on what's going on with your body, you need to be the person figuring that out. I can't tell you over the damn internet. You know, there's really no way I can tell you. Here's what I can tell you. If, okay, let's say you hurt like your arm or something, you know, you bumped it or your toe maybe. Let's use your toe. It's a better analogy. Let's say you stubbed your toe real bad and it's a leg day and you can't go train. Well, you probably shouldn't go try to train legs half-assed with a bad toe. You could probably do an upper body though. Or if you're not just feeling it overall, just take the damn day off and make it up later in the week. In reality, you got to listen to your body. You know your body better than anyone. You know, if you've done serious stuff, go to a doctor obviously and do what they tell you. But for these little kind of bumps and tweaks and whatever that you might experience in your daily life, it's in reality more like looking at yourself and figuring out, okay, well, how do I feel? What, you know, could I do? Could I do upper body today? Maybe I could do lower body today. What's going to work? Maybe I should just take the day off because I'm really not feeling it. I'll make it up on Saturday, Sunday, you know? That's what you really got to do. So, you know, assess where you're at. Assess your individuality here. And make sure that you know what's going to be good for you. Question number 4, is post-show blues a real and common thing? This is a question I get a lot from competitors. Those of you that don't know what post-show blues is, it's kind of this idea that after your competition you get depressed, right? You sink into, you know, being depressed and upset, and it's the post-show blues. And so people often think that it's an actual thing. I don't think it's an actual thing. There's nothing that really supports it being an actual thing. I think it's a combination of a few things, okay? So I think if you had a bad coaching approach, it definitely can affect your hormones and things like that. When you return into an off-season, improvement season, off-season, you know, caloric surplus, and your hormones can go a little wacky on you, all right? Ladies and gents, this is you both. And so with that hormone change, that hormone fluctuation can make you feel different types of ways for sure. Like you might feel depressed because of that. So if you had a bad coaching approach, sure, it could be a thing, but it's still not actually like a defined thing by all preps, because I coach people by a lot of preps, lots and lots, and people do not have this happen unless it's the other side of it, which is the whole kind of mindset piece, okay? So there's also a mental side of this. There's a mental side to the whole prep and everything else where, you know, you've set a deadline, you've set a goal, and you're working really hard for it, and now you're approaching it step by step, day by day, getting closer and closer to that final deadline of the show, and you're growing the whole time, right? You feel good, you're making progression, you're moving forward, you're continuing to develop and get further along until the end of the game. And so with that, the essence of life is growth, ladies and gentlemen. We know this. Like, we as human beings, we do better when we're working towards something in general. And so what happens is some people don't set off-season goals, right? Like, a lot of people just like work with their coach until the end of the show and then they're off. And you might not have a program set up. You might not have a specific goal you're trying to attain. You might just fall off the wagon altogether. And so if you lose that mindset, right, where now you don't have anything you're working towards, absolutely you're going to feel some level of a mental type depression because basically you're not working for a goal anymore. If you do, however, set strong off-season goals, you have a target, you should work with a coach. This is what I do. I work with all of my athletes year-round. I don't let anybody get out of there at any point in time. We're training prep season, improvement season, all seasons, and we're setting goals. We're setting straight up define goals and say, okay, we want to see this happen. We're working for this in the improvement season, and then we're checking in on the progress as we go. So it's very important. If any of you are out there and you're having a hard time with this, hit me up. Go to TeamFFLEX.com right now and subscribe to the free trial, and me or one of my coaches will help you get back on track, kind of figure out where you're at, and let us know what's going on. You know, you're feeling the post-show blues kind of thing, and I'll set you up for free for 7 days where you can get on the right track again and feel better about it. Go to TeamFFLEX.com, and we'll help you do that. All right, question number 5 right here. And then we're moving into the fan question. This is the last one from Coach Rye. How should I incorporate cheat meals into my diet? So this comes up. I do flexible dieting where, you know, I have the shirt that says every day is cheat day. And basically that's how I perceive flexible dieting, as, you know, the ability to eat the foods you enjoy and things like that. If you don't know what that is, go to TeamFFLEX.com and I'll tell you how to get results while eating what you want to eat. Subscribe to the mailing list. But basically, you know, flexible dieting, I promote that as a thing where you can do it all day. However, some people do prefer to not have a little bit of a cheat every day, right? A little flexible food every day, and actually, you know, save it up and have like a meal a week or something like that. Like some people don't like to eat, you know, a slice of pizza. Some people want to eat 3-4 slices of pizza or something like that. And so with that, you can do things like cheat meals, and I do have people do this. I have clients that do this. I have clients that prefer this. So the way you program that in is still 80-20, right? It's still the rule I always talk about, this kind of 80-20 balance for your nutrition, where you want to have 80% of the foods be good and healthy foods and 20% be your kind of cheat foods, your fun foods. And so basically you do the same thing. You just do it on a weekly scale instead of a day-to-day scale. So you might eat, you know, your 80% foods for 80% of the week, in other words, and then on the weekend you have your cheat meal or whatever. And so you can incorporate them in. You should have this be obviously approved with your coach. You know, I would never tell anybody to do this against what their coach is telling them to do. For me, I can easily adapt it. If somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I want to do a cheat meal, I'm like, great, here we go. Here's how you do it. Here's what we're going to do. And with a cheat meal, you don't want to track it, okay? You're not going to track it. You're just going to go have it, and basically you're going to do great, you know, 7 days a week, really good tracking. And then you have that one meal involved. So, you know, you're not going to not track on cheat day. You're just not going to track that meal. And so basically you're going to go have it, enjoy it. And when you're done, you start back up fresh. You start back on track. You do it again. You go again. You get your meal again next week, whatever. And, you know, people also always ask, I'm kind of ranting a bit, but they also always ask, hey, can I stick with this? Do I have to ask you every week for the cheat meal? No. Not for me. If you're training with me, then I'm telling you, hey, go at it, and I'll tell you otherwise when the time is right if you need to change that. Otherwise, you know, it's in the programming. Again, depending on who you're working with or if you have a coach, you got to figure that out. Definitely suggest a coach for this kind of stuff. Just makes it a lot easier. TeamFFLEX.com if you want to check out our free trial, by the way. All right, let's move, fans. Let's move into the fans' questions. All right, so we got about 8 of these today. Thank you for those of you that did this. I appreciate it. Keep these coming at me. DM me, you know, drop me in the comments, email me, whatever. I've been getting a lot, but a lot of them are, you know, riff-raffy, a little bit not important, dumb stuff. So I kind of compiled down 8 that I thought would be beneficial to most people, and that's what we're going to dig into now. All right, so fan question number 1, this is from Mary. What is a weight belt good for? I've seen girls use it for waist shrinking, and I've also heard it's good for doing heavier lifts to stop from getting hurt. How does it work? All right, Mary, so a weight belt. I don't know why a girl would be trying to use it for waist shrinking, but I guess, you know, some guys do the similar kind of thing. It's not going to be effective, though. But the point is, a weight belt, for the general sense, right? It's designed to support your midsection during exercise. So mainly during heavy lifts and things like that where you're risking a higher chance of injury already. It helps increase your intra-abdominal pressure to the point where you can do the lift without, you know, hopefully without getting hurt. Basically do a heavy squat without rounding your back, or a deadlift without rounding your back there. And, you know, you can stay braced, keep tight. The way it works is you have an internal abdominal muscle already called the TVA, the transverse abdominis, okay? So this is basically your muscular weight belt. But what happens to a lot of people is everyday life, kind of makes that thing go to sleep, right? So like sitting like I am now. If you sit down and you can look down and your stomach's sticking out at any degree, which happens to everybody no matter how lean you are or not, your TVA is just relaxed. And so basically, this muscle gets very weak. And so with that, a weight belt can be a good way to help strengthen it, kind of replace it in a way, and that's how you can use it. People would obviously, like you said, try to use this for like waist shrinking, but in reality, it's not going to be very helpful for that. Better things for that would be like doing vacuums or actual exercise where you're going to train it. This is kind of just a brace in a sense, so these people might have a shrunken waist while they're wearing a weight belt because they're wearing it too tight, but they're not going to have it all the time. It's not going to have any crossover long term, so that's kind of how it works. That's what you should use it for. Good to note that you shouldn't wear it all the time. I see people in the gym just wearing them constantly. No, you should only be using this stuff on maximal temp lifts if you need it. And, I'm not a huge advocate of it. I don't use a belt myself. I don't use a belt when I even go really, really heavy on things. And it's because I am a firm believer that, like, if my body is supposed to be lifting the weight I'm trying to lift, I'll be able to do it myself with the correct form. And if I can't, I should probably not be training at that level because I am risking injury then. So, kind of the same idea. Don't wear it all the time. If you do, it's basically putting a Band-Aid on your body, and your body will get used to it, and you will need it. Otherwise, you're going to have some serious other stuff going on. So that's kind of how it works. Next, we're looking at a question from Jessica. It says, I have a clicking sound in my shoulder when I do shoulder stuff. What is it, and what do I need to do? Clicking sounds in the shoulders, Jessica, they can be from a lot of different things. You could be too tight in one way or another, like your pec could be too tight, your shoulder's pulling forward, it's out of position, so it's clicking, hitting on some joint structure, cartilage, bone, something like that, could be doing that, any of that. And same could go alternatively. You could be tweaked one way. You could have a tight neck. All kinds of things could be going on. A lot of times the clicking is a tension. It's like a joint or a ligament or a tendon that's being pulled the wrong way, and so it's making a sound as it rubs over a bone. Not ideal, by the way. Don't be doing that. If you got something clicking, you need to go get it checked out probably. If you're doing it, if you haven't been doing basic mobility stuff, then start with that. But if it continues, definitely go to the doctor. And if it's hurting, definitely go to the doctor. And if it's, causing pain, stop training whatever you're doing that's causing it. Avoid causing it the pain. Some stuff you could try, though, a lot of shoulder stuff is, anterior, posterior positioning, basically. Like postural stuff is off. So you could do some rolling, like get a lacrosse ball, roll out your pec, roll out your chest, your deltoid here, into your traps, your scaps, and your back, and kind of roll all that out. I have videos on this channel about how to do that. Search neck fix, I think. But basically, if you're going to roll out, that can help relax some of these tissues, relax some of the pulling fascia and other things you got going on that might free your shoulder up and not cause that anymore. So I would start with some serious mobility work, test it out, then see how it's going. If it continues, definitely go get it checked out, get it looked at, because this kind of stuff is not stuff you want to mess with. All right, number 3, fam, right here. This is from Joyce. What's the best exercise for booty building? Best exercise for booty building would probably, I'd have to say, be hip thrusts, but not the general sense. Hip thrusts on a bench, not from the floor, and also using a band, okay? Using a band, something like that to drive your knees out into. That's probably going to be the best way to target glutes overall, because that is the exercise where it removes most of the other things, right? A lot of people think squats are great. A lot of people think deadlifts are great. They do help, but they're also using a lot of other muscles, right? Like, for example, squats have always been told to be the thing that builds your glutes. It's not true. Basically, what a squat does is build mostly your legs, right? We're talking about your quads, your hamstrings, your adductors, pretty much every part of your leg firing up, and then your glutes being part of it, but not the entire thing at all. And so what happens when you train these movements a lot, most of the times you're going to overdevelop the legs versus the glutes every time. So if you're trying to actually hit the glutes really hard, best way to do this is a high variance of exercise that target the glutes specifically. But I would have to say hip thrust is probably one of the best. I would also say close seconds would be GHD, glute ham raises, some single leg kickback type stuff where, you're focusing on maybe a Smith machine or kickback machine, something like that. But either way, hip thrust, you can't avoid that, and you do want to do it with the band, so try that out. Let me know how it goes. Number 4, this is from Amy. If I train abs too much, does that make me blocky? Short answer is yes, it will. When you get this really developed core, you do square out your physique. A lot of people want the tapered look, guys and girls both. They kind of want the smaller waist look, right? They want to have a bigger up top, or women bigger down low, or both, or whatever. Everybody's different, but basically, the tapered look where you come into the small waist. And when you train abs too much, you train them too hard, you train them with weight, it's just like anything else. If I went and did a bunch of curls, my arm's going to get bigger. It's the same for your abs. Your midsection, your obliques, your rectus abdominis, all that will actually thicken out. It'll hypertrophy, and then you'll actually have ab muscles that stick out. And if you carry too much fat, you're just going to kind of look bigger. You're going to look like you have a bigger stomach versus a more muscular stomach. And even though if you are lean, you can still have protruding abdominal muscles to the point where a lot of people don't like it. So yeah, you can get blocky that way, because if you build the obliques too much, it's definitely going to square out your physique. What you would want to do is, minimal ab work, a lot of core work, okay? So I'm talking about diaphragmatic breathing, vacuums, things like that. And then ab work that targets straight up rectus abdominis, which is your main kind of ab six-pack muscles. If you do a lot of this stuff, that's going to give you the ab look most people want, and it's not going to block you out too much. So a lot of oblique work, especially weighted stuff. Stay away from weighted stuff for the abs. It just makes you, it causes too much. If you're looking for non-blocky look, then don't do that kind of stuff, all right? Question number 5. This is from Cody. I'm having a hard time hitting my carb goals. What tricks you got? All right, Cody, luckily for you, this happens to a lot of people, man. Basically, people get these carb goals. A lot of people I coach get very, very high carbs. Very, very high carbs by, the end of a reverse diet or an improvement season, a bulking phase, building phase, in other words. Very high carbs, okay? And so we're talking about girls in 300-400 grams a day, very common. Guys can be higher than that for sure. Basically what happens is you got to find simple sources of carbs you like. And in reality, you got to commit to not being like a clean eating guru at this point. Because basically for you to get 300 or 400, 500 grams of clean carbs in a day, you're going to be eating, 20 cups of brown rice or something that's just going to kill you. You won't be able to do it. But you got to look for carbs in simpler things like, juices, honey, things like that. Honey is great. You can throw that in some oatmeal, a teaspoon of that, and you just add it up 50 carbs, you know what I mean? So think of things like that where you can do that. You can also do things like a weight gainer shakes. Those are largely just sugar. You can also get like dextrose and stuff like that, different carb powders. You can throw that in your protein shake and add some carbs up. You just got to start thinking out of the box. Best way to do it, old school, go get them damn Oreos and start chowing down, because basically we're talking about carbs being carbs. It doesn't matter where they all come from, all right? So when you get these high levels, you're going to have to go dirty when you eat if you really want to hit these goals. And so I hope that helps, Cody. Hit me up. If you need more help, go to TeamFFLEX.com. And I'll help you on the free trial. Just subscribe. Anybody else can do this too if you need help with anything, nutrition, training, whatever. And that would be super beneficial to you, because I can teach you a little bit more about that there. Question number 6. We just got a few more left here, fam. What supplements would you suggest in general for starters? Jesse, this question comes up a lot. I think I may have even addressed it now that I'm reading it. But basically for starters, for pretty much everybody actually, not even just starters, even advanced athletes, I barely ever suggest any supplements to start. Anything. Because basically, it's not what needs to be the most focused on. You should always focus on your training and your nutrition for the most part. Have that be the bulk, and then, add in the supplements as you need. I've used the analogy of, like a cupcake being how supplements should apply to your life. If you follow me on Instagram at TeamFFLEX, you've seen this before, and you should follow me there, by the way. If you don't, go over there. But basically, it's I put the cake as your nutrition, right? So the cake is your nutrition. Then we get the frosting and all that on top. That's your training. That makes the cupcake. Now, you could also add some sprinkles to the cupcake. Doesn't really change the taste of it. Doesn't really make it a better cupcake. But you might want some damn sprinkles, and that's what I call your supplements, those sprinkles, right? So it doesn't make the bulk of anything, but they are add-on if you want them. And basically, that's how you should do the same thing when it comes to getting your supplements. Focus heavily on your nutrition and your training first. Get those down. Make sure they're working. Make sure you know what's going on. And then if you want some supplements, you want to throw some money, whatever, go at it. But if you're really looking down to what I would ever suggest, I'll tell you straight up, it's going to be very simple. I suggest multivitamins. Give people some multivitamins, great. Most people don't get enough nutrients on their own. It has to be a good multivitamin though. Don't get this $9, $8 stuff at Walmart, whatever. Put some money into it and get some real deal stuff. If you want, email me or drop me a comment or whatever. Get a hold of me somehow and I'll send you one that's good. And basically that and protein powder, because a lot of people have a hard time getting protein gold. That's actually one of our questions coming up, I think. But protein, it can be good, it can be helpful, it can be easy and quick. Everybody's got to get their protein in. And other than that, I really don't recommend much. Pre-workout maybe, but that's just because I like it. People like to get pre-workout, but you don't need it. I'm definitely not an advocate of aminos, bullshit. Not an advocate of other things. Maybe creatine. Creatine would be good for some people. It's the most researched supplement there is, and it actually does show some good things. So if we're going about things that actually, have been researched and shown to work, that's what we're talking about. And that's kind of where I would suggest for anybody. Outside of that, not a lot. Not the fat burners, none of that. Stay away from that stuff, Jesse. Alright, question number 7. I just started keto and I saw a huge drop in my weight in the first week. Is that normal? Tina. Alright, Tina, yes, it is. Don't mistake this for fat loss. It's what everybody does. It's why keto catches on. People are like all gung-ho about keto because they see, people lose 5, 10, 15 pounds in a week, 2 weeks, doing keto. And they think it's fat loss. They think they actually lost weight. In reality, the initial weight loss that you get is literally water loss in your body. Because basically what happens, right, on a keto diet, there's no carbs. You're not having carbs. You're up to like 20 grams of carbs a day at max. Most people don't even hit that. You're not having really any carbs. With that, you're very high in fat, very high in protein, but that's counterintuitive to what I'm going to say anyway, just giving you the overview. Point is, the carb absence is what causes you to lose that weight, but it's not body fat. What it is the fact that carbohydrates are stored into your muscles as what is called glycogen, okay? They're used for energy during exercise or high intensity bouts of anything that you would do in life. And basically the way it works is your body takes this glycogen, this carbohydrate, in other words, when you eat a carb, puts it in your muscle and saves it for energy. So as it sits in the muscle, glycogen stores water. So as you drink water and everything else, it goes into your muscle, it fills the muscle out. You're filling your body out, your muscle structure, which is mainly water anyway, with more water and more carbs and more glycogen if you're eating carbs. And so what happens is now you're holding more water weight all the time. So you might also be overweight, you might need to lose some body fat, whatever, and then you start keto and you get a weight drop, but it's actually not body fat, it's none of that. What it is the fact that the glycogen stores in your body are getting depleted. The water's not being held in there anymore, and now you're depleting it, and basically the water is dropping out of your body, and thus dropping your weight on the scale. It's not body fat, don't mistake it. Don't think that it's, the best approach. I definitely am not a huge advocate of keto because I don't believe that it's long-term for most people. There's always going to be those outliers that can do it, but for the general audience, it's not the best approach. I strongly suggest a flexible dieting approach for most people. Since I've trained thousands of people, I know that to be true. I know that to work best. I know that people perform best when they can have variability and sustainability in their life long term. So that's what I suggest. If you want to learn more about that, go to TeamFFLEX.com right now. Subscribe to the trial. Teach you about flexible dieting, how you can get the best results of your life. Eating the foods you want. It can be done. Alright, final question of the day. Gainz the clock. Thanks for watching, fam. Share it and subscribe if you haven't yet. This question comes from Pete. Last question of the day. Hitting my protein goal is always so hard. What foods do you suggest? I hinted earlier this was coming up when we were talking about supplements, I think. But basically, the foods that I suggest hit protein, because this is hard for a lot of people, especially guys. Guys got to get, into the 200s, 250, sometimes 300 grams of protein a day. And it can be hard for women too in a bulking season, bulking improvement type season, right? And so basically what you want to do is, you got to plan ahead. You really got to factor everything you're going to be eating in. This is why I say track your foods. This is why I'm an advocate of flexible dieting. Tracking your foods gives you the ability to know what you're doing and where you're going with it. So therefore, you're basically able to say, okay, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to do this. I got to get to this crazy 250 gram protein intake. How do I do it? And you start punching in foods and you figure it out. I send out a protein foods list to all my clients, okay? All my clients, all my athletes, I say, here's a list for proteins. I actually do all the nutrients, so carbs, fats, fibers, all that. I'm like, here you go. Here's some stuff to work off if you need extra help. Obviously, with flexible dieting and stuff, I say everybody can do what they want, and I do mean that, and you can do that. But basically, I want to give people a list that they can refer to and they can look at for extra ideas, because sometimes we forget stuff that we already know just because we're not thinking about it, all right? So I'll give you some foods right now off the top of my head. Any lean meats obviously is great. Lean meats always have tons of protein, okay? And, we're talking about anything. You can have beef, pork, chicken, whatever you want, whatever. As long as it's lean, it's not going to contain a ton of fat and stuff like that, which will bump your calories up too high, won't put you over your other macros, in other words, but you can get the protein in. Now, it is a pain in the ass to eat a lot of meat sometimes, because it's just, a lot of work, a lot of prep, a lot of cooking, a lot of chewing, a lot of money. And so with that, I say, get a protein powder. You can throw in 2-3 protein shakes in a day, easy. You can throw them back with a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner, and you're going to add, 30 grams of protein each meal to that, and that's going to get you up another 90 grams for your day. And so in reality, I am a huge advocate of saying protein powder for that, and that's why I included that in my supplement recommendations, because if you're having a hard time getting your protein, don't try to eat every damn gram of it, just drink it. Drink it where you can, and eat the rest that you want to eat and whatnot, and basically that's going to be great. Canned tuna is good. Canned tuna has, again, it's very lean, a lot of protein, good for you. So stuff like that, just think about that. Just start thinking about brainstorming these foods. If you want more examples, hit me up at TeamFFLEX.com, subscribe to the trial, let me know, I'll send you some stuff. But basically, you got to plan ahead. If you plan ahead, you're going to be successful. And that's in reality what the goal always is, all right? So thanks for watching, fam. This is Gainz O'Clock. I'm Ryan Milton from TeamFFLEX. We will be back here every single Friday to give you the deets and the questions and the Q&A answers that you bring me. Submit your questions to me anywhere, and we'll get you on the show, all right? We'll put you on the show, answer your questions. I'm going to keep covering some of the most common ones I get. Hopefully you got something out of this today. Please share it. Please subscribe. And I'll see you back next week on Gainz O'Clock. Check out the other series shows I'm running right here too. We got them all week. Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.